Let us begin with a distinction that most people never make. There is a difference between currency and wealth. These terms are used interchangeably in ordinary conversation, but they describe fundamentally different things. Confusing them is not a minor error. It is the central mistake that condemns millions to financial fragility despite lifetimes of labor. Currency is a medium of exchange. It is the unit in which prices are denominated, wages are paid, and debts are settled. It facilitates transactions. It allows you to convert your labor today into purchasing power tomorrow. These are useful functions. But currency is not wealth itself. It is a claim on wealth, a ticket that can be exchanged for real things. Wealth is different. Wealth consists of assets that possess inherent utility or scarcity independent of any government's declaration, land that can produce food, shelter that provides protection, equipment that enables production, knowledge that creates value, ownership stakes in enterprises that generate goods and services people need. These things are wealth. They exist whether or not the currency system functions. The confusion between currency and wealth is not accidental. The system benefits when participants mistake the ticket for the show. When people accumulate currency rather than wealth, their holdings can be diluted without their consent or awareness. When they measure their prosperity in nominal units rather than real purchasing power, they can be impoverished while believing they are advancing. Consider what happens during periods of monetary expansion. Currency units multiply. Nominal prices rise. A house that cost 50,000 units now costs 500,000. The owner believes their wealth has increased tenfold. But has it? The house provides the same shelter, it occupies the same land, its utility is unchanged. What changed is the unit of measurement. The owner has not grown wealthier, the ruler has shrunk. True wealth is measured in productive capacity and real assets. How much food can your holdings produce? How much shelter can they provide? How many goods and services can they generate or command? These questions reveal actual financial position. The number of currency units in your account reveals only your exposure to dilution. This reframing changes everything about financial strategy. The goal is not to accumulate the largest possible number in a bank account. The goal is to convert labor into assets that maintain or increase their real value, regardless of monetary policy decisions. The goal is to own things that cannot be printed. What assets possess this characteristic? Productive land has maintained value across millennia and monetary regimes. When currencies collapse, land remains. It produces food. It provides location. Its supply is fixed by geography. No central authority can create more of it through accounting entries. Equities in well-managed enterprises represent ownership of productive capacity. A company that manufactures essential goods, provides necessary services, or owns valuable infrastructure generates real wealth, regardless of the currency in which its earnings are denominated. When currency loses value, such companies can raise prices accordingly. Their real value persists. Commodities, the raw materials of civilization, possess inherent utility. Energy, metals, agricultural products. These things are needed whether the monetary system is stable or chaotic. Their value derives from usefulness, not declaration. Certain monetary assets have maintained purchasing power across centuries. Gold has functioned as a store of value for 5,000 years. It cannot be printed. Its supply increases slowly through difficult extraction. It carries no counterparty risk. It requires no functioning institution to validate its worth. More recently, digital assets with verifiable scarcity have emerged. Their long-term role remains uncertain, but their design explicitly addresses the dilution problem. Fixed supply means no central authority can expand the units in existence. The common thread is scarcity. Assets that cannot be easily multiplied retain value when currency units multiply. Assets whose supply is controlled by those with interests opposed to yours are vulnerability, not security. This is the principle. Convert currency into genuine wealth as efficiently as your circumstances allow. Do not measure success by nominal account balances. Measure it by ownership of real, productive assets. Do not save currency for decades. Convert it into things that cannot be diluted. Do not confuse the ticket with the show. Understanding the difference between currency and wealth is the first intellectual step, but knowledge without action changes nothing. In the final chapter, we will assemble these insights into a practical framework for navigating a system designed to transfer wealth from those who do not understand it to those who do. The rules favor those who wrote them, but the rules are not secret, and those who learn them can play accordingly.
You now possess knowledge that most people will never acquire. You understand that the currency in your wallet has no inherent value beyond collective belief. You understand that this belief is sustained by policy decisions made by those whose interests may not align with yours. You understand that saving currency is a strategy for gradual impoverishment. You understand the difference between currency and wealth. Knowledge is necessary, but not sufficient. The question now is application. How does one navigate a system designed to benefit those who understand it at the expense of those who do not? The answer is not a single tactic, but a framework of principles adapted to individual circumstances. The first principle is continuous education. The financial system evolves constantly. New instruments emerge. Regulations change. Opportunities and risks shift. Those who learned the rules 20 years ago and stopped paying attention are playing an outdated game. Commit to ongoing study of monetary policy, market structure, and economic history. The patterns repeat, but the specific manifestations vary. Financial literacy is not a luxury, it is self-defense. The education system does not teach these subjects adequately. This is not oversight. The gap must be filled through deliberate personal effort. Read primary sources, study central bank communications, examine historical crises, understand the incentives that drive institutional behavior. The second principle is strategic asset allocation. Do not concentrate holdings in currency or currency-denominated instruments like savings accounts and bonds. Diversify into assets with inherent scarcity, productive real estate, equities in enterprises with pricing power, commodities, and alternative stores of value. The specific allocation depends on individual circumstances, risk tolerance, and time horizon. The principle is universal. Minimize exposure to dilution. Understand the difference between nominal and real returns. An investment that returns 5% while currency loses 7% of its purchasing power is not a gain, it is a loss disguised by inadequate accounting. Evaluate every financial decision in real terms. Ask not how many currency units an asset will generate, but how much purchasing power it will preserve or create. The third principle is debt awareness. In a system that favors borrowers over savers, strategic use of debt can be advantageous. Fixed-rate obligations denominated in currency that loses value become easier to service over time. The real burden decreases as the currency dilutes. Those who purchased real estate with fixed mortgages decades ago discovered this benefit. Their payments remained constant while their incomes rose with inflation. But debt is a tool that cuts both ways. Leverage amplifies both gains and losses. Those who borrow to purchase assets at peak valuations suffer disproportionately during contractions.
Debt must be employed with discipline, secured against productive assets, and structured to survive periods of economic stress. Reckless borrowing is not a strategy, it is speculation disguised as sophistication. The fourth principle is income diversification. Wages are necessary for most households, but they are also vulnerable. They are denominated in currency. They are subject to termination. They depend on the continued function of employing institutions. Develop additional income streams that derive from assets you own or skills you control. Rental income, business profits, royalties, dividends. Each additional stream reduces dependence on any single source. The goal is not merely more income, but more resilient income. A household with 5 income sources is more secure than one with a single employer, even if total earnings are equal. Diversification applies not only to assets, but to the means by which resources are acquired. The fifth principle is psychological preparation. The system produces periodic crises. These crises generate fear, panic, and poor decision-making. Those who understand the cyclical nature of monetary systems are better equipped to maintain rationality during turbulence. When others sell in panic, opportunities emerge. When others chase speculative manias, caution is warranted. Emotional discipline is a financial skill. It cannot be acquired during a crisis. It must be cultivated in advance through understanding and mental preparation. Know that contractions follow expansions. Know that fear is most intense at bottoms and confidence most excessive at tops. Position yourself to act contrary to the crowd when extremes arrive. A final observation. The system we have described is not permanent. No monetary arrangement in history has persisted indefinitely. The current structure is an experiment, barely 50 years old, a brief moment against the timeline of human economic organization. It will evolve, reform, or collapse. Something will replace it. Those who understand the current system are best positioned to navigate its successor. The specific rules may change. The principles, understanding value, maintaining scarcity, diversifying exposure, cultivating knowledge, these are not tactics for a particular moment. They are foundations for enduring financial resilience. You began this journey believing that money is simple: work, earn, save, prosper. You now understand that the reality is more complex and less favorable to the uninformed. The system operates according to rules that benefit those who comprehend them. You have acquired that comprehension. What you do with it determines whether you remain subject to the system or begin to navigate it on your own terms. Money no longer guarantees your security. This statement would have been heresy to your grandparents. In their era, accumulating currency was a reliable path to stability. That path has been closed. The currency they trusted has been transformed into something else, a unit of account that loses value by design, a measuring stick that shrinks while you sleep. But there is an asset that cannot be printed, cannot be diluted, cannot be confiscated by policy decisions made in distant capitals. That asset is knowledge. What you now understand about the monetary system cannot be taken from you. It cannot be inflated away. It does not require a custodian or a functioning institution to preserve its value. It exists in your mind, and it compounds through application and continued learning. The greatest transfer of wealth in human history is underway. It flows from those who do not understand these mechanisms to those who do. Every day, through inflation, through asset cycles, through the architecture of debt-based currency, this transfer continues. It is not visible to those experiencing it. It does not appear on any statement, but it is as real as any transaction, and its cumulative effect over a lifetime is profound. You have been given a choice. You can return to the comfortable illusion that currency equals wealth, that saving guarantees security, that the system operates neutrally. Many will make this choice. The illusion is easier than the reality. Or you can proceed with open eyes. You can convert understanding into action. You can restructure your financial life around principles that account for how the system actually functions rather than how it is described. You can position yourself among those who benefit from monetary expansion rather than those who are diluted by it. The money in your wallet tells a story. It is a story of promises made and broken, of rules rewritten without consent, of wealth quietly transferred across generations. Now that you know the story, you can decide what role you will play in its next chapter. The shears are always being sharpened. The question is whether you will be among the shepherds or among the sheep. This is not financial advice. This is something more fundamental, an invitation to see clearly, to question assumptions, and to take responsibility for understanding the system in which your economic life is embedded. What you build on that foundation is yours to decide.